I wanted to surprise my wife at work. At the entrance, a security guard said, "No entry for unauthorized persons." When I said I was the CEO's husband, he smiled. "Sir, I see the husband every day. There he is coming out right now." I decided to play along. Look, I'm going to level with you right off the bat. I'm an idiot. Not the lovable sitcom kind either. The full-blown, premium-grade, certified organic variety of stupid that makes you wonder how I've survived this long without accidentally microwaving my phone. So there I was, Noah Carter, standing in the lobby of Brightline Media, with a box of hazelnut eclairs that cost more than my first car payment, thinking I'm about to win Husband of the Year. 5 years married, and I figured I'd do the whole surprise at work thing because apparently I've learned nothing from literally every romantic comedy ever made. Surprises? They're only cute when you're the one planning them. When you're on the receiving end, they're basically emotional landmines wrapped in pretty paper. My wife Emma runs this place. CEO, corner office, the whole 9 yards. We're talking glass walls, chrome everything, and people power walking through the halls like they're training for the caffeine Olympics. I just wanted to pop in, drop off some fancy French pastries, maybe steal a kiss while she pretended to be annoyed that I interrupted her very important business meeting. Simple, sweet, foolproof. Except I forgot the golden rule. Nothing is ever simple, and I'm definitely no fool's proof. I'm walking through those massive revolving doors, already feeling like $1 million in my nice jeans, and the button-down shirt Emma says makes me look presentable when this security guard materializes out of nowhere. And I mean, this guy looked like he bench-pressed small cars for fun. Uniform so crisp it could cut bread, chest puffed out, like he's personally responsible for defending democracy. "Can't let you through, sir," he says, holding up a hand the size of a dinner plate. "Authorized personnel only." I flash him my most charming smile, the one that got Emma to agree to a second date after I spilled wine on her white dress. "Hey man, no worries. I'm actually the CEO's husband. Just dropping off." "Sir," he cuts me off with the kind of patience you'd use on a toddler claiming they're actually a dinosaur. "I see the CEO's husband every single day, and that's definitely not you." Record scratch. Freeze frame. Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got into this situation. I blink at him. Once, twice. My brain's doing this thing where it knows words are happening, but they're not quite computing. Like when you're half asleep and your alarm goes off, and for a solid 30 seconds, you can't remember if you're late for work or if work is just a weird dream. "I'm sorry, what?" I managed to croak out. "The husband," Guardzilla repeats, and I swear there's a hint of smugness in his voice now. "I see him every morning. Super nice guy. Always carries the CEO's briefcase. In fact, he glances at his watch like he's timing a bus route. He should be coming through right about now." And then the universe decides that I haven't suffered enough. The glass doors whoosh open with that fancy automatic sound, and out walks Emma, my Emma, my wife of 5 years, 3 months, and 12 days. She's wearing that navy power suit I helped her pick out last month. Her hair pulled back in that way that means she's had back-to-back meetings since dawn. She looks absolutely radiant, glowing like she just closed a multi-million-dollar deal or discovered the meaning of life. But here's the kicker. She's not alone. Walking beside her, and I mean right beside her, close enough that their shoulders are practically touching, is a man. Not just any man either. This dude looks like he walks straight out of a cologne commercial. Tall, probably 6'2", suit so sharp it could file taxes. Hair slicked back like he's got a sponsorship deal with whatever product makes hair look like liquid silk. And he's carrying her bag, her designer leather bag that she only uses for important clients. My jaw doesn't just drop, it crashes through the floor, the basement, probably all the way down to some confused mole's living room. They're laughing about something. She touches his arm. Just a casual touch, the kind that could mean nothing or everything depending on your current level of paranoia. Which, for the record, just shot from 0 to DEFCON 1 in about 2.5 seconds. "See?" Guardzilla says beside me, sounding positively delighted. "That's him, the husband. Mr. Reed comes in every day at 8:45 sharp." Mr. Reed, the husband. Those words are bouncing around my skull like a pinball on Red Bull, Emma, and Mr. Tall, dark, and stealing my life walk right past us. She doesn't even glance my direction, too busy smiling at something he's saying. They head toward the executive elevators, the ones that require a special key card that I definitely don't have. I'm still standing there, like a malfunctioning robot, clutching a box of increasingly warm eclairs, watching my wife disappear into an elevator with some GQ model who apparently everyone thinks is her husband. Sir, you okay? The guard actually sounds concerned now. You look like you've seen a ghost. Yeah, I hear myself say from somewhere far away. A ghost? That's exactly what I've seen. More like the ghost of my marriage, my trust, and my previously held belief that I knew what the hell was going on in my own life. But sure, let's go with ghost. Sounds less pathetic. The guard's radio crackles and he turns away for a second. This is my moment. I could push past him, catch that elevator, confront Emma, right there in the lobby in front of God, security cameras, and probably a dozen employees who'd have the whole thing on TikTok before I finish my first sentence. But I don't. You know why? Because despite current evidence suggesting I have the IQ of a houseplant, I'm not that guy. I'm not the dude who makes a scene without facts. I'm not about to blow up my wife's professional reputation because a security guard has apparently been living in an alternate reality where she's married to Mr. Perfect instead of Mr. Just Fine, thank you very much. Actually, I say, my voice surprisingly steady, could you point me to HR? I think I need to file a complaint. About what, sir? About my entire life, buddy. But let's start with visitor policies. He looks confused, which makes two of us. I back away slowly, still clutching those damn eclairs, like they're the last solid thing in my rapidly liquefying world. The lobby feels too bright, too shiny, too full of people who apparently know more about my marriage than I do. I make it outside before my hands start shaking. 5 years. 5 years of marriage. And some random security guard is telling me my wife has a different husband. A husband who shows up every day. A husband who carries her briefcase and makes her laugh and... No. Stop. I force myself to breathe, to think, to not completely lose my mind on a public sidewalk while holding pastries. There's an explanation. There has to be. Maybe the guards knew. Maybe he's confused. Maybe Mr. Reed is her brother. Except I've met her brother, and he's definitely not 6 feet of designer masculinity. Maybe this is all some elaborate prank for our anniversary. Yeah, a prank. That makes sense. Emma's always said I'm too gullible, too trusting. This is probably her way of teaching me a lesson before surprising me with something amazing. I almost believe it too. At least until I look back through those glass doors and see Emma and Mr. Reed getting into the same black BMW in the executive parking lot. The eclairs hit the trash can with a sad little thud. Happy anniversary to me. Okay, so here's where most guys would completely lose their minds. I'm talking full meltdown, screaming, crying, maybe throwing something expensive, definitely calling a lawyer who advertises on bus benches. That's the normal human response to watching your wife of 5 years drive away with budget Ryan Gosling, while a security guard casually informs you that you've been replaced. But me, I'm built different. And by different, I mean I've watched way too many spy movies and have an unhealthy relationship with denial. So instead of having a completely reasonable emotional breakdown, I channel my inner Jason Bourne, minus the muscles, combat training, and general competence. I'm basically Jason Bourne if Jason Bourne worked in IT support and his most dangerous skill was fixing printer jams. I walk back into that lobby like I own the place. Confident stride, head up, box of eclairs retrieved from the trash because I have paid $17 for those things and I'll be damned if this crisis goes to waste. Back so soon? Guardzilla asks, eyebrows raised. Yeah, you know what? I changed my mind. I lean against his desk all casual-like, as if my entire world isn't currently doing the Macarena on my chest. I'd actually love to meet this husband everyone keeps talking about. The CEO's office, you said? He looks at me like I've just asked him to explain quantum physics using only interpretive dance. Sir, I can't just let random people... Random? I let out a laugh that sounds only slightly unhinged. Buddy, I'm the most unrandom person here. In fact, I'm so specific, so particular, that I'd really love to have a chat with Mr. Ree, clear some things up, well, maybe compare notes on, I don't know, favorite coffee orders, inside jokes, anniversaries. The guard's hand moves toward his radio. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Oh, I'm leaving. I push off from the desk, giving him my best smile, the one that says I'm totally fine and definitely not planning to spend the next week spiraling into an investigative obsession that would make true crime podcasters proud. But just out of curiosity, what kind of car does Mr. Reed drive? Black BMW 7 Series, he says automatically, then catches himself. Wait, why? No reason, just making conversation. You have a great day, my man. Protect that lobby, fight the good fight. Keep letting my wife's secret husband waltz in here every morning while I'm at home making her breakfast like some kind of domesticated chump. I'm halfway to the revolving doors before he calls out, Sir, are you okay? Never been better, I shout back, probably a little too loud. A woman in a pencil skirt gives me a wide berth. Living the dream. Feeling fantastic. Definitely not planning anything crazy. The automatic doors can't spit me out fast enough. Here's the thing about rage mixed with confusion and topped with a generous helping of what the actual, well, hell. It makes you do stupid things. Things you'd never normally do. Things that in hindsight you'll look back on and think, wow, that was definitely the behavior of a stable, rational adult. Which is how I end up at the coffee shop directly across from Brightline Media, sitting at a window seat like I'm on a stakeout in a bad detective novel. The cafe is called Grounded, one of those aggressively hip places where the menu is on a chalkboard, the barista has a man bun, and ordering a small coffee makes you sound like you're from the wrong century. Everything's got some cutesy name like the Enlightened Bean or Conscious Cup. I'll have the most bitter thing you've got, I tell Monbun, slapping a 20 on the counter. And I mean emotionally devastating. I want this coffee to taste like my life feels right now. He blinks at me. So, a dark roast? Perfect. Make it a large. Actually, make it whatever size is called. I just discovered my wife might be living a double life. That's not on the menu, but I can do a triple shot. Sold. I take my liquid depression to the window seat with the best view of Brightline's entrance. This is fine. This is totally normal behavior. I'm just a guy sitting in a coffee shop, definitely not stalking his own wife. It's called getting answers. Very mature, very reasonable. The coffee tastes like burnt regret with hints of poor life choices. It's perfect. I watch the building's entrance like it's the most fascinating thing I've ever seen. People stream in and out. Business casual zombies, clutching their own overpriced caffeine, talking on phones, looking important. I'm looking for one specific BM. One specific lying, briefcase carrying, husband impersonating. There. The black BMW pulls up to the front entrance at exactly 5:47 p.m. I know because I've been checking my phone every 30 seconds like it's going to magically provide explanations. Mr. Reed gets out first, because of course he does, probably so he can open Emma's door like some kind of chivalrous knight who doesn't know she's already married to a perfectly adequate door opener, thank you very much. He's changed into a different suit. Charcoal gray this time. Still looks like he irons his face every morning. Then Emma emerges, and my chest does this weird thing where it simultaneously clenches and drops. She's laughing again. Not just a polite work laugh either, the real one, the one where her nose scrunches up a little. The one I used to think was just for me. They stand by the car for a moment, talking. He says something. She touches his arm again. There's that arm touch, the one that's apparently a regular feature of their relationship. Then she does something that makes my triple shot cardiac arrest special almost come back up. She adjusts his tie, just reaches up, casual as anything, and straightens his tie like it's the most natural thing in the world. Like she's done it 1,000 times before. My hand, the one holding my phone, moves on autopilot. I'm filming. I don't even remember deciding to film, but there I am, phone pressed against the window, recording my wife being domestic with another man. Dude, are you okay? Man Bun is suddenly beside me with a plate. You ordered the anxiety muffin? I absolutely did not order that. Yeah, but you looked like you needed it. On the house. I glance at the muffin. It's got some kind of seeds on it. Probably chia or quinoa or whatever's trendy in the superfood community this week. Does it come with answers to life's greatest mysteries? Just fiber, man. But that's pretty important too. Across the street, Emma and Mr. Reed get into the BMW together. He's driving. She's in the passenger seat. They pull away from the curb, and I'm on my feet before my brain catches up to my legs. Thanks for the muffin, I yell, already heading for the door. You didn't eat it. Emotional support baked goods. I'll cherish the memory. I burst onto the sidewalk and immediately open my rideshare app. My fingers are shaking, partly from the coffee, mostly from the adrenaline, entirely from the reality that I'm about to follow my own wife like I'm in a Lifetime movie. A Toyota Camry pulls up in 45 seconds. The driver's name is Dimitri, and he's got one of those dashboards covered in religious icons and air fresheners. Follow that BMW, I say, pointing. Dimitri turns around slowly. You are serious? Dead serious. This is because of woman? How did you... Is always because of woman. He sighs deeply, like he's seen this movie 1,000 times. Okay, we follow, but I charge extra for drama. Fair enough. We pull into traffic 3 cars behind the BM. I'm sitting in the back seat of Dimitri's Camry, clutching my phone like it's the One Ring, watching my wife's car navigate through downtown traffic. This is my life now. This is what 5 years of marriage has led to. Me, a probably stale anxiety muffin in my pocket, paying surge pricing to tail my own wife. She is beautiful, yes? Dimitri asks, glancing in the rearview mirror. The woman you follow? The most beautiful. And the man? Looks like he has a skincare routine that costs more than my car. Ah, Dimitri nods sagely. Is always the way. The BMW turns onto Riverside Drive, heading toward the nice part of town. The part where restaurants have names like single words, flux, or essence, or pretentious, and the waiters describe your food like they're narrating a nature documentary. Sure enough, they pull up to the Vine Terrace. Of course, of course. It's only the most romantic restaurant in the city. The place where proposals happen and anniversaries are celebrated and apparently where wives take their second husbands for a nice Wednesday evening. You want I should wait? Dimitri asks as they valet the BMW. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm watching them walk toward the entrance. Mr. Reed's hand is on the small of Emma's back. Actually, can you just park somewhere with a good view? Of restaurant? Of my marriage ending. Is very sad, Dimitri says. But he parks across the street with a perfect sightline to the restaurant's front windows. I can see them being seated. Corner table. Candlelight, because apparently the universe has jokes. A waiter brings menus. They're both smiling, talking, looking like every other normal couple out for a nice dinner. Except one half of that couple is my wife. My phone's still recording. I don't know what I'm going to do with this footage. Exhibit A in divorce court? A really depressing TikTok? Blackmail material for when I need someone to take out the trash? They order wine, red looks like. Emma only drinks red wine when she's celebrating something. When we had our first date, she ordered red wine because she'd just landed her first major client. On our wedding day, red wine. When she made CEO, you guessed it, red wine. What exactly is she celebrating now? The waiter brings appetizers. They share something. Looks like bruschetta or maybe my will to live. Hard to tell from this distance. Mr. Reed says something that makes Emma laugh so hard she covers her mouth. That's her tell. When she's really genuinely amused, she covers her mouth like she's embarrassed by how much joy she's experiencing. I used to be the one who made her laugh like that. Then comes the main course. Some kind of pasta situation. They're eating, talking, and then, oh no, oh no, no, no. Emma picks up her fork, twirls some pasta, and feeds it to him. She actually leans across the table and feeds him a bite of her dinner. His mouth closes around her fork, and he does this exaggerated face that she clearly finds hilarious. I'm calling 911. This is a crime. This is emotional terrorism. This is very bad, Dimitri asks quietly. She fed him pasta, Dimitri. Ah, he says it like I've just confirmed a terminal diagnosis. Is very bad. My phone's memory is almost full. I've got about 15 minutes of footage of my wife having the time of her life with Mr. Perfect, and I'm sitting in a stranger's Camry, eating what I can only assume is a deeply disappointed anxiety muffin, trying to figure out where exactly my life went off the rails. They finish dinner, order dessert, tiramisu because Emma has good taste, even when she's apparently cheating on me. The bill comes. Mr. Reed pays. Of course he pays. Probably doesn't even look at the total. They stand to leave, and I duck down in my seat like I'm in a cartoon. What you do now? Dimitri asks. Honestly, I have no idea. Maybe go home, pretend this didn't happen, wake up tomorrow, and discover this was all a really specific, really cruel nightmare. Or, Dimitri suggests, you could talk to wife. Yeah, that's that's definitely an option for people who are emotionally mature and ready to have difficult conversations. And you are not this person. Dimitri, my friend, I'm sitting in your car, eating a muffin I didn't order, after filming my wife through a restaurant window like a deranged private investigator. What do you think? He considers this. I think you need better plan. You and me both, buddy. You and me both. The BMW pulls away from valet. I slump lower in my seat, wondering if this is rock bottom or if there's still some deeper circle of hell waiting for me. Dimitri starts the engine. I take you home now? Yeah, I say quietly, watching the taillights disappear into traffic. Take me home, wherever that is anymore. So here's a fun fact about Denial. It's actually a really comfortable place to live. It's got terrible Wi-Fi, and the neighbors are all your worst fears. But the rent's cheap, and you can pretend literally anything you want. Like, for instance, that your wife isn't having cozy dinners with a man who looks like he was assembled in a laboratory, specifically designed to make regular guys feel inadequate. I spent the entire ride home staring at my phone, watching the footage I'd recorded like it was going to suddenly reveal that this was all a massive misunderstanding. Maybe there'd be a boom mic in the corner of the frame, proof that this was actually a commercial shoot for luxury cars, or betrayal-flavored pasta. Spoiler alert, there was no boom mic. Here is good? Dimitri asked, pulling up to my apartment building, the one Emma and I moved into 3 years ago because it was charming and affordable, which is real estate code for small and the elevator breaks a lot. Yeah, this is perfect. I handed him cash, including a generous tip because if anyone deserved hazard pay for emotional support, it was this man. Thanks for, being my accomplice in whatever psychological breakdown this was. Is not breakdown, Dimitri said wisely, is wake up. Sometimes we sleep through our lives. Sometimes we need alarm clock. That's actually pretty profound. I listen to a lot of podcasts while I drive. I trudged up 4 flights of stairs. Elevator was broken naturally and let myself into our apartment. Emma wouldn't be home for another few hours, which gave me time to do what any rational adult would do in this situation, completely spiral. I dropped onto the couch and opened my laptop. Time for some good old-fashioned internet stalking. If I was going to have a mental breakdown, I was going to have an informed one. LinkedIn was my first stop. Professional. Classy, definitely not creepy. Julian Reed, Chief Operating Officer at Brightline Media. Harvard MBA, previously at Goldman Sachs. Board member at 3 different companies I couldn't pronounce. The guy's resume read like a greatest hits album of success. His profile picture showed him at some charity gala, black tie, looking like money had sex with confidence, and produced a really annoying baby. I scrolled through his posts. Lots of corporate buzzword salad. Synergy, paradigm shifts, leveraging core competencies. One post from 2 weeks ago about Brightline's Q3 earnings, with a photo of him and Emma shaking hands with some investors. Her hand on his shoulder. His smile genuine and warm. The comments were full of congratulations and people calling them a dynamic duo. And one person who wrote, "You two make such a great team, hashtag power couple." I slammed the laptop shut so hard I'm surprised that it didn't crack. Power couple. Power couple. I needed coffee or whiskey or a time machine. I went with coffee because it was 8 p.m. and I still had some pretense of having my life together. While the machine gurgled and hissed, much like my mental state, I pulled out my phone and did what every mature adult does when facing a crisis. I went down the social media rabbit hole. Julian Reed's Instagram was private, because of course it was. The man had boundaries. Unlike me, apparently, who was currently violating every principle of trust and privacy in my marriage. But his Twitter was public, well, X, or whatever we're calling it now. I refused to fully commit to the rebrand. Some hills are worth dying on. His posts were mostly business stuff, retweets of industry news, and the occasional motivational quote that probably made sense if you were the kind of person who woke up at 5 a.m. to do hot yoga and drink green smoothies. But then I found something interesting. A tweet from 3 weeks ago. Family is everything. Grateful for the ones who keep us grounded. Attached was a photo of Julian with a woman and a little kid, maybe 5 or 6 years old. The woman looked like him, same sharp features and confident smile. The caption on the photo said, "Saturday with my favorite people." I zoomed in. The woman was wearing a hospital bracelet. The kid was holding a balloon that said, "Get well soon." I switched back to LinkedIn, searching for any connection between Julian and this mystery woman. Found her in about 30 seconds. Victoria Reed, clinical director at Mercy General Hospital. Her profile listed Julian as a connection, and her bio mentioned she was proud sister to the world's best brother. Sister, not girlfriend, not affair partner, sister. The kid must be her son, which would make Julian an uncle, a family man who took Saturdays to visit his sister in the hospital. I sat back, coffee forgotten. This was good news, right? This meant Julian probably wasn't trying to steal my wife. He was just a guy with a sick sister who happened to work closely with Emma. Except that didn't explain the dinners, the arm touches, the tie adjustment. The way Emma laughed like she didn't have a husband at home eating anxiety muffins in a stranger's car. I went back to Instagram, created a burner account. Definitely not Noah Carter. I'm great at this spy thing. And sent Julian a follow request. I know, this is pathetic. But I was already 4 levels deep into Pathetic Town. Might as well check out the local attractions. While I waited to see if he'd accept, I started Googling signs your wife is cheating, because apparently I hate myself. The first article listed all the classics. Suddenly dressing better, Emma always dressed great, being secretive with her phone, she left it lying around all the time, working late more often, she'd always worked late, and being emotionally distant. Okay, maybe a little, but we'd both been busy. None of it felt definitive. It was like reading a horoscope, vague enough to apply to anyone if you squinted hard enough and were sufficiently paranoid. My phone buzzed. Julian had accepted my follow request. Jesus, that was fast. Did this guy just sit around waiting to approve random followers? Didn't he have a company to run? A wife to steal? Scrolled through his feed with the intensity of an FBI analyst hunting for terrorists. Most of it was what you'd expect. Gym selfies, of course. Photos of elaborate meals, naturally. Scenic shots from what looked like business trips because his life wasn't already annoyingly perfect. But then I hit the jackpot. Or maybe the opposite of a jackpot. A jack broke, whatever. A photo from last month. Julian and Emma at some kind of corporate retreat. They're on a beach, white sand, turquoise water, the works. They're both in business casual, but Emma's wearing this sundress I'd never seen before. Yellow with little flowers. She looks absolutely radiant, hair down and wavy from the ocean breeze. They're laughing at something off camera. His arm is around her shoulders. The caption, "Great minds think alike, even better minds think together." Hashtag Brightline Retreat. Showered teamwork, mom grateful. 147 likes. 32 comments. All variations of "you guys are amazing" and "dream team." And one from someone named Ashley who wrote, "Get yourself a work spouse like this." Work spouse. I'd heard Emma use that term before, usually when talking about her assistant or the head of marketing, but this felt different. This felt like a work spouse who'd been upgraded to the premium package with extra benefits. I checked the date. The retreat was 3 weeks ago. Emma had told me about it, some leadership thing in Florida. She'd sent me photos of the hotel, complained about the conference food, FaceTimed me one night when she couldn't sleep. She hadn't mentioned Julian, not once. Not a single "Julian said the funniest thing today," or "Julian and I grabbed dinner after the workshops." Nothing. I scrolled further back, found more photos of them together. Always professional settings, conferences, office parties, ribbon-cutting ceremonies. But they were in almost every group shot, usually standing next to each other. In one photo from 6 months ago, at what looked like a company holiday party, Emma was adjusting Julian's pocket square while he laughed. The pocket square, the tie, she was always straightening something on him, like he was a Ken doll she was styling for success. My coffee had gone cold. The apartment felt too quiet, too empty, too full of questions I didn't want to ask, because I was terrified of the answers. I needed a plan, a real one, not just follow wife around like a creep and hope for the best. I needed information, facts, evidence that either proved Emma was cheating or confirmed I was losing my mind. Option 1. Confront her directly. Ask her point blank about Julian and watch her reaction. Pros. Honest, mature, straightforward. Cons. I'm a coward. And also, what if the answer is worse than the uncertainty? Option 2. Hire a private investigator. Pros. Professionals who know what they're doing, unlike me. Us, expensive also feels like admitting our marriage is a lifetime movie. Option 3. Keep investigating on my own, gather more evidence, and then confront her with facts. Pros. I get to feel like a detective, might find exonerating evidence, gives me time to process. Cons. Every crime podcast I've ever listened to would be screaming at me not to do this. I went with option 3, obviously, because I make excellent choices. I spent the next 2 hours building what I can only describe as a conspiracy theory board, but digital. I created a private note on my phone titled, "Definitely Not About Emma." Again, nailing this subterfuge thing. And started listing everything I knew. Facts. Julian is COO at Brightline, works directly with Emma. Security guard thinks Julian is Emma's husband. They arrive together most mornings. They have regular dinners, or at least one dinner that I witnessed. Emma touches him frequently, arm, tie, pocket square. They attended a beach retreat together. Julian has a sister in hospital and a nephew. Julian is objectively more attractive than me. Okay, this might not be a fact, but it feels like one. Questions. Does Emma have feelings for Julian? Does Julian have feelings for Emma? How long has this been going on? Does anyone else at Brightline know? Am I the only person in the world who didn't realize my wife has a work husband? Why didn't she mention him before? Why does the guard think Julian is her actual husband? Theories. 1. They're having an affair. Worst case scenario, also most obvious. 1. They're very close friends and I'm jealous. Possible, but doesn't explain the secrecy. 1. And it's all work related and I'm creating drama from nothing. Then why do I feel like something's off? 1. Simulation theory and none of this is real. Unhelpful, but can't rule it out. I was staring at my phone trying to decide if adding a fifth theory about parallel universes was taking things too far when I heard keys in the door. Emma was home. I panicked, closed the note app so fast I almost threw my phone across the room, and tried to arrange myself on the couch in a way that said normal husband having a normal evening rather than paranoid investigator who's been stalking you through the internet. The door opened, and there she was, still in her navy power suit, hair slightly mussed from the day, carrying her briefcase and a bag from our favorite Thai place down the street. "Hey, babe." She smiled at me, that real smile, the one that made me fall in love with her in the first place. "I brought pad Thai, extra peanuts, just how you like it." And just like that, all my theories and investigations and carefully cataloged evidence felt stupid. This was Emma, my Emma, the woman who remembered how I liked my noodles, who brought home dinner even though she'd probably been working since dawn, who was looking at me right now with nothing but affection. Maybe I was going crazy. Maybe I was manufacturing problems where there weren't any. Maybe, "How was your day?" she asked, setting the food on our kitchen counter. And I looked at her, really looked at her, trying to find any hint of guilt or secrecy or anything that suggested she was living a double life. I found nothing. Just my wife, tired from a long day, being thoughtful and sweet. "It was fine," I lied. "Totally normal. Definitely didn't follow you to a restaurant or create a burner Instagram account to stalk your coworker." She laughed, thinking I was joking. "You're such a weirdo. That's why I love you." She kissed my cheek and went to change out of her work clothes, leaving me alone with the Thai food and my thoughts and the growing certainty that I was either about to uncover the truth or completely destroy my marriage trying. Possibly both. I pulled out my phone and added one more line to my notes. "Tomorrow, go back to Brightline. Get past security, find out what the hell is actually going on." The pad thai was delicious, by the way. Extra peanuts and everything. Tasted like impending doom, but in a really flavorful way. You know what's great about insomnia? Absolutely nothing. But you know what insomnia is great for? Overthinking every single moment of your relationship and wondering if you've been living in a romantic comedy where you're not the love interest, you're the oblivious best friend who doesn't realize the main character has moved on. I spent the entire night staring at the ceiling while Emma slept peacefully beside me, which, by the way, felt like its own kind of betrayal. How dare she sleep soundly while I'm over here, having an existential crisis that would make Hamlet say, "Dude, relax." Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Julian's stupid, perfect face, that hair, that suit, that arm around Emma's shoulders on a beach that I'd never been invited to. My brain was stuck in a loop. playing the greatest hits of my paranoia on repeat. By 5 a.m., I gave up on sleep entirely. Emma's alarm wouldn't go off for another hour and a half, which gave me plenty of time to do something either really smart or catastrophically stupid. The line between those two has always been pretty blurry for me. I crept out of bed like a ninja, if ninjas were clumsy and accidentally kicked the laundry basket, and headed to my laptop. If I was going to show up at Brightline again today, I needed a plan better than wing it and hope for the best. LinkedIn had become my new best friend, which is either really sad or really resourceful depending on how charitable you're feeling. I pulled up Brightline Media's company page and started scrolling through employees. There had to be someone, anyone, who could tell me what the deal was with Emma and Julian. Someone who worked closely with them. Someone who might have noticed if there was something going on. That's when I found her, Rebecca Cho, executive assistant to the CEO. Her profile picture showed a woman in her late 20s with glasses and a smile that suggested she knew where all the bodies were buried. Every good CEO has an assistant who knows everything, and I was willing to bet Rebecca was that person. Her LinkedIn said she'd been with Brightline for 3 years, which meant she'd been there when Emma took over as CEO, and she'd definitely been there for whatever was developing between Emma and Julian. I needed to talk to Rebecca, but how? I couldn't just walk into Brightline and ask to speak with my wife's assistant about whether my wife was cheating on me. That's not suspicious at all, officer, unless... I opened a new tab and Googled Brightline Media Public Events. If the company was doing anything public, a press conference, a charity thing, an open house, maybe I could show up without seeming like a total stalker. More than I already was. Jackpot. Brightline was hosting a career fair today at 2 p.m. Meet the team, learn about opportunities in media, free coffee, and networking. The event was open to the public, which meant I could waltz right in without needing to get past my new nemesis, Guardzilla. I checked the clock, 5:17 a.m. Emma would be up soon. I needed to act normal, whatever that meant anymore. I closed the laptop and headed to the kitchen to make coffee. The real kind, not the artisanal depression brew from yesterday. The machine gurgled to life, and I tried to rehearse what a normal morning looked like. Smile, ask about her day. Don't mention Julian, don't mention following her. Don't mention anything that happened in the last 24 hours, and easy, I'm a great actor. I once convinced my college roommate I knew how to cook, and he didn't figure out I'd been ordering takeout and transferring it to my own plates for 3 weeks. Emma emerged from the bedroom at 6:30, already dressed in a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. She looked perfect. She always looked perfect. It was actually kind of annoying. Morning, she said, kissing my cheek on her way to the coffee. You're up early. Couldn't sleep, I said, which was the first honest thing I'd said in 24 hours. Big day ahead. Oh yeah, what's going on? Think, Noah. Think. Just, got a lot of work stuff to catch up on. Might head to that coffee shop downtown, change of scenery. She nodded, distracted by her phone. Probably checking emails. Or texting Julian. No, stop it, brain. Sounds good. I've got meetings all day. Probably won't be home until late. Meetings with anyone interesting? I asked, trying to sound casual and definitely not fishing for information. She looked up from her phone, eyebrow raised. Noah, they're work meetings. None of them are interesting. Right, obviously. I was just making conversation, like a normal person, who is totally normal. Are you okay? You're being weird. Me? Weird? Never. I'm the most not weird person you've ever met. I'm aggressively regular. She laughed, thank God, and grabbed her briefcase. Okay, weirdo. I'll see you tonight. Love you. Love you too, I said automatically, and she was gone before I could analyze whether she'd hesitated before saying it, or if I was just projecting my anxiety onto every interaction. The apartment felt too quiet after she left. I stood there in my pajamas, the ones with the cartoon tacos on them that Emma got me for my birthday because she thought they were adorably ridiculous, and wondered when exactly my life had turned into a bad soap opera. I had 6 hours until the career fair. 6 hours to prepare, to practice looking like someone who belonged at a corporate networking event, to figure out exactly what I was going to say to Rebecca Cho if I managed to find her. I spent those 6 hours doing what any rational person would do. I went full FBI. First, I needed to look the part. The taco pajamas weren't going to cut it. I dug through my closet for my interview suit, the one I'd worn exactly twice, both times to weddings. Navy blue, so slightly wrinkled because I'm not the kind of guy who owns an iron or knows how to use one. I threw it on the bed and moved to phase 2, research. I created a new document on my laptop titled Brightline Career Fair Strategy and started making notes. Objective: talk to Rebecca Cho without seeming insane. Cover story: I'm interested in career opportunities at Brightline. Not technically a lie. I'm very interested in whether my marriage has opportunities to continue existing. Questions to ask: what's it like working at Brightline? Ease her in. What's the CEO like? Casual, casual, not suspicious. I heard the CEO and COO are really close. Is that true? Abort, too obvious. Okay, so I needed to be more subtle. I could do subtle. I'm a subtle guy. I once went to an entire dinner party without mentioning that I could solve a Rubik's Cube in under 2 minutes. That's restraint. I spent the next hour scrolling through Brightline's website, memorizing facts about the company so I could sound semi-intelligent if anyone asked why I was interested in working there. Revenue: $47 million annually. Employees: 230. Primary business: digital media and content creation. Known for innovative storytelling and cutting-edge campaigns. Great. I knew nothing about any of that, but I could fake it. I've been faking confidence my entire adult life. What's one more performance? At noon, I started getting ready. Shower. Shave. The suit that made me look like I was either going to court or a funeral. I slicked my hair back with some product Emma kept in the bathroom. The expensive stuff that smelled like cedar and promises. I looked in the mirror. The guy staring back at me looked almost professional. Almost like someone who belonged at a career fair, and not like someone who was using a career fair as a cover to investigate his wife's potential affair. You got this, Moss. I told my reflection. You're Noah freaking Carter. You've survived worse than this. Technically, I hadn't, but positive self-talk is important. I grabbed my laptop because people at career fairs bring laptops, right? And headed out. The elevator was working for once, which I took as a good omen. The universe was on my side, or at least not actively trying to sabotage me, which was about as much as I could hope for these days. And the rideshare to Brightline took 20 minutes. Not Dimitri this time, some kid named Tyler who spent the entire ride telling me about his SoundCloud. I gave him 5 stars because I'm not a monster, even if his music sounded like a robot having a breakdown. Brightline Media looked different in the afternoon, less intimidating, more approachable. There were balloons outside, corporate blue and white, and a banner that said, "Your future starts here." My future, right? The one that either included a wife who loved me or divorce papers and a studio apartment where I'd eat cereal for dinner and question all my life choices. I walked through the front doors. Different security guard, younger, less invested in who was or wasn't married to the CEO. He barely glanced at my ID before waving me toward the elevators. My career fair's on the 5th floor, he said. Can't miss it. 5th floor, where I'd seen Emma and Julian looking at blueprints yesterday. This was either fate or a really cruel coincidence. The elevator ride felt like it took 3 years. I practiced my smile on the reflective walls. Too eager, too nervous, too much like a guy who's about to do something stupid. The doors opened to organized chaos. The 5th floor had been transformed into a networking paradise, or hell, depending on your perspective. Booths everywhere, each one representing a different department. Marketing, sales, creative, operations, HR, which I was definitely avoiding because those people could smell desperation. And there, near the back, a booth labeled Executive Operations. Behind it, Rebecca Cho. She looked exactly like her LinkedIn photo, except more tired. She was juggling 3 conversations at once, handing out brochures and somehow managing to look both professional and deeply exhausted. I grabbed a coffee from the refreshment table, needed something to do with my hands, and made my way over. There were 2 people ahead of me talking to her, which gave me time to rehearse. Hi, I'm Noah. I'm interested in opportunities at Brightline. What's it like working here? Oh, the CEO? Yeah, I've heard great things. Must be exciting working so closely with her. Does she work closely with anyone else? Like, say, a COO who looks like he stepped out of a cologne ad? No. Too obvious. Too desperate. Too likely to get me escorted out by security. The 2 people ahead of me finally moved on, and suddenly Rebecca was looking at me expectantly. Hi, she smiled. Welcome to Brightline. Are you interested in executive operations? Yes, definitely. Executive operations are very operational. Great start, Noah. Really nailing this. She handed me a brochure. We're looking for people with strong organizational skills, attention to detail, and the ability to work in a fast-paced environment. Do you have experience in this field? Some, I lied. I'm actually really interested in the company culture here. What's it like working with the leadership team? Oh, they're amazing, Rebecca said, and her smile turned genuine. Emma, the CEO, she's incredible. Really cares about the team, always pushing us to do better. And Julian, our COO, he's equally supportive. They make a great team. There it was. They make a great team. My stomach dropped somewhere around my kneecaps. That's great, I managed. They must work together a lot? All the time. I mean, that's the job, right? She laughed. They're practically inseparable. Morning strategy meetings, client dinners, weekend planning sessions. Honestly, I don't know how they do it. I'd go crazy spending that much time with my coworker. Weekend planning sessions. Weekend. Wow, I said, my voice sounding weird and distant. That's really dedicated, right? Emma always says Julian's the only person who really gets her vision for the company. They finish each other's sentences in meetings. It's actually kind of funny to watch. They finish each other's sentences. That's what people say about couples, about people who are in sync, about people who, are you okay? Rebecca asked. You look a little pale. Fine, just the coffee, too strong. But speaking of Julian, Noah? I turned around, and my entire life flashed before my eyes. Emma was standing 10 feet away, looking at me like I'd just materialized out of thin air, which from her perspective, I basically had. Emma, hi, what a coincidence. I sounded like a game show host having a stroke. She walked over, her expression unreadable. What are you doing here? Career fair. Just, exploring opportunities. Thinking about a change, new horizons, fresh starts. I was talking too fast. Way too fast. Rebecca looked between us, confused. Wait, do you two know each other? He's my husband, Emma said slowly, her eyes never leaving mine. Rebecca's face went through about 17 different expressions in 2 seconds. Oh, I didn't realize. I'm so sorry. I was just telling him about what a great team we are, Emma finished. Her voice was ice. How Julian and I are practically inseparable? My mouth opened. Nothing came out. This is what dying feels like. Noah, can I talk to you for a second? Emma's smile didn't reach her eyes. Privately? Sure, absolutely. Privacy. Love it. She grabbed my arm, not gently, and pulled me toward an empty conference room. The door closed behind us with a click that sounded like a coffin shutting. Start talking, Emma said. And I did. Because at this point, what else was I going to do? Here's the thing about being caught in a lie. There's a split second where you can either commit to the bit and dig yourself deeper, or you can come clean and face the consequences. Most people would choose honesty. I, however, am not most people. I can explain, I said, which is universally recognized as code for I absolutely cannot explain, but I'm about to try anyway. Emma crossed her arms, leaning against the conference table. She was doing that thing where she got very, very calm before completely losing it, like the ocean pulling back before a tsunami. I'm listening. Okay, so funny story. This better be hilarious, Noah. Right. So yesterday I came by to surprise you for our anniversary with eclairs from Bliss Bakery, your favorite. Her expression softened slightly. You did? Yeah, but then the security guard told me he sees your husband every day and that your husband definitely wasn't me. And then you walked out with Julian and he was carrying your bag and I was talking so fast the words were practically tripping over each other and I maybe followed you to dinner and watched you feed him pasta through a restaurant window while sitting in a stranger's Camry eating an anxiety muffin. Silence. The kind of silence that has weight and texture and probably its own gravitational field. Then Emma did something I didn't expect. She laughed. Not a little chuckle either. A full, bent-over, tears-in-her-eyes laugh that echoed off the glass walls. You, she gasped between laughs. You followed me? In a Camry? His name was Dimitri. He was very philosophical about the whole thing. She wiped her eyes, still giggling. Noah Carter, are you telling me you've been stalking me because you thought I was having an affair with Julian? I prefer the term independent investigation. But sure, let's go with stalking. Oh my God, she sat down heavily in one of the conference chairs. You really thought Julian and I were... Emma, the man carries your briefcase. He drives you to work. The security guard thinks he's your husband. You adjust his tie like you're preparing him for picture day. You went to a beach retreat together and didn't mention him once. You had dinner at the Vine Terrace, which is where people go and they're either getting engaged or having affairs, and statistically, you're already married, so... Noah. She held up a hand and I shut up immediately. First of all, that security guard has been confused since day one. He started working here right after Julian got promoted to COO. Julian arrives early every morning because he lives 3 blocks away. And yes, we usually ride the elevator together because we both work on the executive floor. That's not suspicious. That's called carpooling by elevator. Okay, but second, she continued, Julian and I work together constantly because we're running a company. The COO and CEO kind of have to be on the same page. We finish each other's sentences because we've been working together for 3 years and have the same business philosophy, not because we're secretly in love. I felt my face getting hot. What about the beach retreat? A leadership conference that 12 other executives also attended, including Margaret from HR, who is 63 and brought her husband. The tie thing? Julian is objectively terrible at dressing himself. His sister usually helps him, but she's been sick. So I've been making sure he doesn't show up to investor meetings looking like he got dressed in the dark. It's called being a good colleague. The pasta feeding? Emma paused. Okay, that one's fair. That was weird. But he just told me this hilarious story about his nephew trying to eat spaghetti for the first time, and I was trying to demonstrate the right way to twirl it, and honestly, it made sense at the time. I slumped in my chair, feeling like the world's biggest idiot. So there's nothing going on with you and Julian? Noah. She moved to sit next to me, taking my hand. Julian is gay, very, very gay. He's been with his boyfriend, Marcus, for 4 years. They have a Pomeranian named Chanel. I went to their commitment ceremony last spring. Remember when I went to that work thing in the Berkshires? My brain short-circuited. Wait, what? Julian is gay. She said it slowly, like explaining calculus to a golden retriever. He's not interested in me. He's not interested in any women. He's interested in Marcus, their dog, and whether Restoration Hardware is having a sale on throw pillows. I stared at her, then at the ceiling, then back at her. I'm an idiot. Yes, a complete and total idiot. Getting warmer. I created an entire conspiracy theory in my head, stalked my own wife, created a burner Instagram account, and spent yesterday evening in a Camry with a philosophical rideshare driver, all because I jumped to conclusions based on literally nothing. Now you're getting it. She squeezed my hand. But here's what I don't understand. Why didn't you just ask me? We've been married for 5 years, Noah. You could have just said, hey, who's this Julian guy and why does this security guard think he's your husband? I sighed, feeling the weight of my stupidity settling on my shoulders like a really judgmental parrot. Because I was scared. Because Julian is objectively successful and put together, and he carries briefcases without looking like a tryhard, and his hair does that thing where it looks professionally styled even in a hurricane. And then there's me, Guy, who works from home in taco pajamas, and once called you from the grocery store because I forgot what kind of milk we drink. Oat milk. We drink oat milk. See, I still don't know that. Emma's expression softened. Noah, I didn't marry Julian. I married you. I married the guy who brings me eclairs on our anniversary and makes terrible dad jokes before we even have kids. I married the guy who watches documentaries with me, even though you hate them, and who learned how to make my mom's soup recipe, even though it takes 4 hours. I don't need someone who looks like a cologne commercial. I need someone who makes me laugh and knows me and loves me, even when I work too much and forget to come home before midnight. I felt something in my chest unclench, something I hadn't realized was wound so tight. I'm sorry for not trusting you, for being a jealous idiot, for all of it. You should be. But she was smiling. You're lucky you're cute when you're stupid. So we're okay? We're okay, but you're buying me dinner at the Vine Terrace to make up for this. And you're going to meet Julian properly, so you can stop thinking he's some kind of homewrecker when he's actually just a really dedicated COO who happens to need fashion assistance. Deal. I kissed her, feeling like the luckiest idiot alive. Now come on, she said, standing up. You need to apologize to Rebecca for whatever weird conversation you two were having. Do I have to? Noah. Fine. But if she posts about this on LinkedIn, I'm deleting my account. We walked back out to the career fair hand in hand. Rebecca saw us coming and immediately looked like she wanted to dissolve into the floor. I'm so sorry, she said before I could even open my mouth. I had no idea you were married to Emma, and I was just answering your questions, and I didn't mean to make it sound like anything weird was going on. And, Rebecca, Emma interrupted gently, it's fine. My husband was just doing some very thorough research on company culture. The most thorough, I agreed, and really went deep. Maybe too deep. Definitely too deep. You're not going to fire me, are you? Rebecca asked, looking genuinely worried. Only if you tell anyone about this, Emma said, but she was smiling. This stays between us, okay? Rebecca nodded so hard I thought her head might fall off. Absolutely. Completely confidential. I'll take it to my grave. Perfect. Emma squeezed my hand. Now, if you'll excuse us, I need to introduce my husband to my COO so he can stop stalking him on social media. You know about the burner account? I asked as we walked away. Noah? You named it definitely not Noah Carter. You're not exactly a criminal mastermind. Dmitri thought I was doing great. Dmitri sounds like a very kind man who was enabling your worst impulses. We took the elevator to the 7th floor, executive offices. My heart was pounding, but for a different reason now. I was about to meet the man I'd spent the last 24 hours convinced was destroying my marriage, only to find out he was just a well-dressed gay guy with a sick sister and a boyfriend named Marcus. Emma knocked on a door labeled Julian Reed, COO, and walked in without waiting for an answer. Julian was sitting at his desk, looking at a presentation on his computer. He glanced up, smiled at Emma, then saw me and did a double take. Emma, hi, and you brought someone? Julian, this is my husband, Noah. Noah, this is Julian. I stepped forward, hand extended, trying to look like a normal person and not someone who'd been cyber-stalking him for the past 12 hours. Nice to finally meet you properly. Julian shook my hand, looking confused but polite. Finally. Have we met improperly before? Long story, Emma said quickly. The short version is that Noah thought we were having an affair. Julian's eyes went wide. Then he laughed, a genuine, surprised laugh. Wait, seriously? Emma, you didn't tell him about... I know, my fault. I should have mentioned my incredibly gay COO, who I work with constantly. Incredibly gay, Julian agreed, still grinning. Like aggressively homosexual. Marcus and I just adopted a second Pomeranian. We named her Versace. We're those people now. I felt my face burning. I'm really sorry for, assuming things, and possibly stalking your Instagram. Did you send me a follow request from an account called Definitely Not Noah Carter? Maybe. I thought that was spam. He turned to his computer, pulling up Instagram. Marcus and I were trying to figure out if it was a bot or just someone with a really unfortunate naming convention. It's the second thing, I admitted. I'm not great at this, clearly. But Julian was smiling. Look, no hard feelings. Emma's amazing, and I can see why you'd be protective. Though, for the record, even if I were straight, she'd still pick you. She talks about you constantly. She does? Constantly, Julian confirmed. Last week she spent 20 minutes telling me about how you learned to make her mom's soup. I know more about that soup than I know about our Q3 projections. Emma looked embarrassed. I don't talk about him that much. You literally have a photo of him on your desk wearing those taco pajamas. Those pajamas are adorable. They're very adorable, Julian agreed. Noah, you seem like a good guy. How about we all grab lunch sometime? You, me, Emma, and Marcus. We can all properly meet, and you can see that I'm not a threat to your marriage, just a threat to Emma's color-coordinated filing system, because I keep putting things in the wrong folders. Lunch sounds great, I said, meaning it. And sorry again for being a paranoid weirdo. We've all been there, Julian said kindly. Marcus once thought I was cheating on him because I was being secretive about my phone. Turns out I was just planning his surprise birthday party. He felt like an idiot for weeks. That actually makes me feel a lot better. Good. Now get out of here, both of you. I've got a presentation in 10 minutes, and I need to fix whatever organizational chaos happened while I was distracted. Emma and I left Julian's office and walked back to the elevator in silence. Once the doors closed, she turned to me. So, feel better? Much better, also much dumber, but in a good way? You're lucky I love you. I really am. The elevator dinged, and the doors opened into the lobby. Guardzilla was back at his post. He saw me and Emma together and did a visible double take. Ma'am, he said to Emma, I didn't realize you and this gentleman were acquainted. This is my husband, Emma said firmly. Noah Carter. He'll be visiting occasionally, so please add him to the approved visitors list. The guard looked at me, then at Emma, then back at me. His brain was clearly working overtime, trying to reconcile whatever alternate reality he'd been living in. But I thought Mr. Reed was my COO, Emma finished. Just my COO. This is my actual husband. Right. Yes. Of course. I'll update the system immediately. He was typing furiously on his computer, probably wishing the floor would swallow him whole. Emma and I walked out into the sunshine, hand in hand. I can't believe that guard has thought Julian was your husband this entire time, I said. I can't believe you created an entire conspiracy theory instead of just asking me about it. In my defense, the evidence was very compelling. The evidence was you being jealous and jumping to conclusions. Same thing, she laughed, pulling me closer. Come on, let's go home. You're making me that 4-hour soup tonight as penance. Worth it, I said, kissing her temple. And it was. That evening, standing in our kitchen chopping vegetables for Emma's mom's legendary soup, I had what you might call an epiphany. Or maybe just a realization that I'm the kind of person who should probably talk to a therapist about his trust issues and tendency to catastrophize. You're doing it again, Emma said from the couch, where she was supposedly working but was actually watching me with amusement. Doing what? That thing where you overthink while cooking. Your face gets all scrunched up. It's very cute and also slightly concerning. I set down the knife. I'm just thinking about how stupid I was. We've established that. No, but like really stupid. Emma, I followed you. I created fake social media accounts. I spent hours convinced you were cheating on me instead of just asking you a simple question. She closed her laptop and came over to the kitchen island, settling onto one of our stools, the ones we bought at IKEA and spent 6 hours assembling because neither of us believed in reading instructions. Okay, she said seriously, let's actually talk about this, not the Julian thing. We'd beaten that horse to death. But the real question? Why didn't you feel like you could just ask me? I focused very hard on dicing an onion, which was convenient because now I had an excuse for my eyes watering. Because I was scared. Of what? The answer. I set down the knife again, because apparently we were doing this now. When I saw you with Julian, saw how you laughed with him, how comfortable you were, how you guys just fit together in this professional power couple way, I realized I never feel like I fit into your world. My world? Yeah, your world of corner offices, and business trips, and wearing clothes that cost more than my car. I work from home in pajamas, Emma. I spend my days troubleshooting other people's computer problems. I'm not exciting, I'm not sophisticated, I'm just me. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she got up, walked around the island, and hugged me from behind, resting her chin on my shoulder. You want to know why I fell in love with you? She asked softly. Because I'm devastatingly handsome and charming? Because on our second date, you spilled wine on my dress, panicked, and tried to clean it with club soda while simultaneously apologizing and explaining the scientific properties of carbonation. You were so earnest and dorky and completely yourself. You didn't try to be smooth or impressive. You were just Noah. That's a low bar. It's not, though. She squeezed me tighter. Do you know how exhausting it is to be on all the time? To be CEO Emma, who has all the answers and never shows weakness? When I come home to you, I don't have to be that person. I can be Emma who burns dinner and laughs at stupid jokes and admits when she doesn't know something. You make me feel like I can breathe. I turned around to face her. Really? Really? And yeah, Julian and I work well together. We're running a company. But at the end of the day, he goes home to Marcus and their designer dogs. And I come home to you in your taco pajamas. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. Even though I'm a paranoid idiot who stalks you through restaurant windows, especially because of that. She kissed me. Though we're going to work on the communication thing. Deal? Deal. Good. Now finish that soup. I'm starving and you owe me approximately 17 hours of cooking for putting me through this drama. I got back to chopping, but this time I was smiling. Hey, Em. Yeah? Thanks for not leaving me for someone with better hair and an actual ability to dress themselves. Thanks for not filing for divorce when I accidentally let our security guard think Julian was my husband for 6 months. How did you not notice that, by the way? She shrugged. I don't usually pay attention to what security guards think. I'm too busy running a company and dealing with my husband's creative crisis management techniques. That's fair. The soup took 4 hours, just like it was supposed to. We ate it at 11 p.m., sitting on the couch with the TV playing something neither of us was really watching, and it was perfect. Not because the soup was good, though it was, but because we were good. We were us again, without the shadow of Julian Reed's perfect hair and my catastrophic insecurity hanging over everything. You know what we should do? Emma said suddenly. Sleep? It's almost midnight. Tomorrow, we should invite Julian and Marcus over for dinner. Let you properly meet them in a non-stalker capacity. I groaned. Do we have to? Yes, because you're going to become friends with Julian, and then you're going to feel even more stupid about this whole thing. And it's going to be hilarious to watch. You're enjoying this way too much. I've earned it. I just found out my husband has been conducting surveillance on me, like I'm in a spy thriller. Let me have this. Fine, but I'm not wearing actual pants. If they're coming to our place, they get the full taco pajama experience. I wouldn't have it any other way. The next morning, I woke up to Emma already dressed for work, standing over me with her phone. Julian says they can do dinner Friday, she announced. Marcus is excited to meet you. Apparently, Julian told him the whole story, and now Marcus thinks it's the funniest thing he's ever heard. I pulled the pillow over my face. Great, I'm a comedy routine. You are, and it's adorable. She pulled the pillow away and kissed my forehead. I've got to run. Conference call in 20 minutes, but I left you a project. A project? Check your email. She left before I could ask what she meant, which should have been my first clue that I was in trouble. I grabbed my laptop and opened my email. There, sitting at the top of my inbox, was a message from Emma with the subject line, Your new assignment. I opened it. Noah, since you've apparently discovered a hidden talent for investigation, albeit misguided investigation, I'm putting those skills to use. Brightline is working on a new community project, and we need someone to research and compile information about local children's charities. It's volunteer work, but it comes with the following benefits. 1. You get to feel useful. You'll learn more about what I actually do all day. You can stop imagining I'm having secret affairs and start imagining, I don't know, whatever normal people imagine about their spouses attached or some preliminary documents. Let me know if you're interested. And Noah, I love you, you ridiculous human. I opened the attachments. There were files about children's hospitals, literacy programs, community centers, all marked with notes about budget projections and potential partnerships. One file was labeled Reed Family Foundation. Reed, as in Julian Reed. I clicked it open. Inside were documents about a charity run by Julian's family, focused on pediatric care and support for families with children facing serious medical conditions. There were photos of Julian with his sister Victoria and her son. The same photos I'd seen on his social media, but with more context. Victoria had been diagnosed with cancer 3 years ago. Julian had started the foundation to help cover her treatment costs and support other families going through similar situations. The foundation had grown significantly, and now Brightline Media was partnering with them to build a new children's wing at Mercy General Hospital. There was a photo from last month, Emma and Julian at the groundbreaking ceremony, both wearing hard hats and holding shovels, surrounded by kids and families. Emma was laughing, one arm around Julian's shoulder, the other high-fiving a little girl in a wheelchair. This was what she'd been working on. This was why she'd been spending so much time with Julian. Not because they were having an affair, but because they were trying to do something good, something that actually mattered. And I'd been too busy playing detective to notice. I spent the rest of the day reading through the documents, making notes, researching similar programs in other cities. By the time Emma came home at 7 p.m., I had a full report compiled, complete with recommendations, budget suggestions, and a list of potential partners. So, she asked, dropping her briefcase by the door, what do you think? I think you're amazing, I said honestly, and I think I'm an idiot for not asking what you were actually doing instead of assuming the worst. She smiled, coming over to look at my laptop. These are good notes, really good. Did you find the information about the children's literacy program? Yeah, I think you should partner with them too. They're already established in the community and it would help with outreach. That's exactly what Julian said. She paused. You know, you could actually help with this project. We need someone to coordinate the community outreach And you're good with people. I work in IT support. You help confused people solve problems all day. That's literally what community outreach is. I looked at the documents on my screen, then at Emma's hopeful expression. You really want me involved in this? I really do. I meant what I said in that email. I want you to understand what I do, and I think you'd be good at this. Plus, you'd get to work with Julian, which means you can finally realize he's just a regular person who happens to have better fashion sense than most. When you put it that way, is that a yes? That's a yes. But I'm still wearing the taco pajamas to dinner on Friday. Wouldn't dream of changing that rule. Friday came faster than I expected, which is to say, I had 3 full days to panic about meeting Julian and Marcus in a non-professional, actually social capacity, where they would definitely judge my life choices and apartment decor. Stop cleaning, Emma said, watching me wipe down the kitchen counter for the third time. They're not the cleanliness police. Marcus has a Pomeranian named Chanel. Chanel. These are people who understand aesthetics. People who probably have throw pillows that cost more than our couch. Noah, I'm spiraling. I'm aware I'm spiraling, but I can't stop. The doorbell rang at exactly 7 p.m. because, of course, they were punctual. I opened the door to find Julian looking somehow even more put together in casual clothes. Dark jeans, a crisp white button-down, and a blazer that probably had its own insurance policy. Beside him was Marcus, tall, black, with locks pulled back in a bun and a smile that could power a small city. Noah, Marcus said warmly, immediately going in for a hug like we were old friends. I've heard so much about you. The Instagram stalking story, chef's kiss. Julian's been dining out on that all week. Glad I could provide entertainment, I said, trying not to be awkward, and definitely being awkward. Don't mind him, Julian said, holding up a bottle of wine. He thinks everything is hilarious. We brought Sancerre. Emma mentioned you guys like white wine. We do. Come in. Please excuse the apartment. It's small and our elevator breaks a lot, but it has character. Character's just code for problems, Marcus said, laughing. We love it. Our place has character too. Last week, our dishwasher started making sounds like a dying whale. I immediately liked him. Emma emerged from the bedroom. Having changed out of her work clothes into jeans and one of my old college sweatshirts, the ultimate sign that she was comfortable. Marcus, Julian, come in. Make yourselves at home. We settled in the living room, which suddenly felt much smaller with 4 adults in it. I'd made appetizers, fancy cheese and crackers because I'd watched exactly one YouTube video about entertaining, and poured wine with hands that only shook a little. So, Noah, Marcus said, diving right in because apparently he didn't believe in small talk. Julian tells me you thought he was stealing your wife. Marcus, Julian groaned. What? It's funny, and honestly, kind of sweet. Shows you care. Shows I am paranoid and need therapy, I corrected. Okay, that too, but in a romantic way. Emma laughed. I've been telling him the same thing. The paranoia is concerning, but the protectiveness is cute. I'm right here, I protested. We know, all 3 of them said in unison. Dinner was surprisingly easy after that. We ate the soup I'd made. Marcus had 2 bowls and declared it dangerously good, and talked about everything from Marcus's work as a graphic designer to Julian's ongoing battle with their condo board about noise complaints from their Pomeranians. They're small dogs, Marcus said passionately. How much noise can they possibly make? They bark at literally everything, Julian said. Last week, Chanel barked at her own reflection for 20 minutes. She's very security conscious. She's neurotic. She gets it from you. Emma and I exchanged glances. They bickered like an old married couple, which they basically were. How did you guys meet? I asked. Dating app, Marcus said. Julian's profile said he was looking for someone who appreciated fine wine and finer dogs. I did not write that. You absolutely did. I have screenshots. Those are fabricated evidence. You're a terrible liar. Marcus turned to us. Anyway, we matched, went to dinner, and he showed up wearing 3 different patterns that somehow all clashed. I knew immediately I'd found my project. Your project? Julian asked, offended. Baby, you needed help. You were wearing a striped shirt with a plaid blazer. That's a cry for help. Emma helps me now, Julian said defensively, and I'm very proud of her for taking on that burden. I was laughing so hard I almost spilled my wine. These weren't the sophisticated, intimidating people I'd built up in my head. They were just normal, funny, real. After dinner, while Emma and Marcus were in the kitchen loading the dishwasher and arguing about the correct way to arrange plates, Julian and I ended up on the balcony. It was small, barely big enough for two people, but it had a decent view of the city lights. Thanks for coming, I said. I know this whole thing has been weird. It's not that weird, Julian replied. I get it. You love Emma, and from the outside, I can see how our relationship might look questionable. Still, I should have trusted her. Should have trusted that she wouldn't do something like that. You're human. Humans get scared and make stupid decisions. Trust me, Marcus and I have had our moments too. Last year, I got paranoid because he was being secretive about his phone. Turned out he was planning a surprise trip to Paris for our anniversary, but I'd convinced myself he was talking to his ex. Really? Really? I even checked his phone while he was in the shower. What did you find? Flight confirmations and hotel reservations? I felt like the world's biggest idiot, but Marcus was actually kind of touched that I cared enough to be jealous, even though the jealousy itself was stupid. That's exactly how Emma reacted. Because when you love someone, their flaws become endearing instead of annoying. Most of the time, anyway. We stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the city. Hey, Julian? Yeah? I'm glad Emma has you. As a partner, I mean, a work partner. Someone who gets what she's trying to do and supports her. I'm glad she has you, Julian said. She talks about you constantly. Did you know that? She mentioned it. No, but like constantly. Last week, we had a 3-hour strategy meeting, and she somehow worked you into the conversation at least 5 times. It's actually impressive how she manages to connect quarterly projections to your taco pajamas. I laughed. Those pajamas are a gift. They really are. Marcus and Emma joined us on the balcony, which was definitely too small for 4 people, but we made it work. What are you boys talking about? Emma asked. Your husband's excellent taste in sleepwear, Julian said. And how we're all idiots sometimes, I added. Cheers to that, Marcus said, raising his wine glass. We all clinked glasses, standing on a tiny balcony in an apartment with character. And I thought, this is good. This is what it's supposed to feel like. 3 weeks later, Emma came home with that smile, the one that meant she was up to something and I was either going to love it or be deeply concerned. What did you do? I asked immediately. Why do you assume I did something? Because you have your scheming face on. I don't have a scheming face. You absolutely do. It's the same face you had before you surprised me with that weekend trip to the mountains where we got lost for 3 hours because you insisted you knew the way without GPS. We found our way eventually. Emma, she sighed, pulling an envelope from her bag. Okay, fine, I have something for you, but you have to promise not to be weird about it. I'm always weird about things. More weird than usual. I took the envelope, which was heavier than expected. Inside was an invitation, fancy cardstock, embossed lettering, the works. You are cordially invited to the grand opening of the Carter Wing at Mercy General Hospital. The Carter Wing? I looked up at her. What is this? Remember that consulting bonus you got last year? The big one from that corporate client you spent 6 months helping? Yeah? You told me to invest it somewhere it would make a difference, so I did. I used it as the seed funding for the children's hospital wing we've been building with Julian's foundation. I stared at the invitation, my name, our name, on a hospital wing. Emma, that was $50,000. I know, and it helped leverage another $200,000 in matching donations. Noah, you funded the first phase of this project. Julian and I just finished it. My eyes were definitely watering now, and this time there were no onions to blame. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know that you're part of this. You're part of what we're building. You might work from home in taco pajamas, but you're making a difference. I pulled her into a hug, holding on tight. Have I mentioned that I love you? Once or twice, she murmured into my shoulder, but I don't mind hearing it again. I love you. Even when I'm being a paranoid idiot who creates conspiracy theories instead of just asking questions. Especially then. The grand opening was scheduled for the following Saturday. Emma had arranged for us to get a tour beforehand, so we showed up early. Me in an actual suit, Emma in a dress that made her look like she was about to broker world peace. Julian and Marcus were already there, along with Victoria and her son Tyler. The kid was in remission now, looking healthy and energetic, running around the new wing with the kind of enthusiasm only children can muster. Noah! Victoria came over, shaking my hand warmly. I wanted to thank you personally. Julian told me about your contribution. It means everything to our family. I'm just glad I could help, I said, feeling awkward but genuine. You did more than help. You gave Tyler and kids like him a chance at better care, better treatment, better futures. Her eyes were shiny. That's not nothing. Tyler ran over, tugging on my sleeve. Are you the pajama guy? I looked at Julian, who suddenly found the ceiling very interesting. I may have mentioned your iconic sleepwear, he admitted. I am indeed the pajama guy, I told Tyler. Cool. Uncle Julian says you're funny. Uncle Julian is being generous. He also says you thought he was married to your wife. Okay, we're done with story time, Julian said quickly, steering Tyler away. Let's go look at the playroom. Marcus was laughing so hard he had to sit down. I love this kid. The grand opening ceremony was bigger than I expected. Press, donors, families, hospital staff, all gathered to celebrate the new wing. Emma gave a speech about community and investment and building futures. Julian spoke about his sister's journey and the importance of accessible health care. And then, to my absolute horror, Emma called me up to the podium. I'd like to introduce my husband, Noah Carter, she said, gesturing for me to join her. Noah works in IT support, which means he spends his days solving problems and helping people, usually when they're frustrated and convinced their computer is possessed. But last year, he did something extraordinary. He took his consulting bonus and asked me to invest it somewhere meaningful. That investment became the foundation for this wing. Everyone was clapping. I was having an out-of-body experience. Noah represents what this project is really about, Emma continued. It's not about big corporations or fancy titles. It's about regular people choosing to make their community better. It's about small acts of generosity that create ripples we can't always see. Noah, did you want to say anything? I took the microphone with shaking hands. Public speaking was not my thing. Public speaking in front of press and donors and people who actually knew what they were doing, absolutely not my thing. Hi, I started eloquently. I'm not great at speeches. I'm much better at fixing printers and overthinking things. But I wanted to say that this project, this wing, it's not really mine. It belongs to everyone who worked on it. To Julian and Victoria, who turned a family crisis into a mission to help others. To Emma, who took a random idea and made it real. To Marcus, who... I'm not actually sure what Marcus did, but I'm sure it was important. Emotional support, Marcus called from the audience. Right, emotional support, which is crucial. I took a breath. Look, I'm just a guy who got lucky. I got lucky with a good job, a great wife, and the chance to help with something that matters. If you're here today, it's because you care about kids like Tyler getting the care they need. That's what matters. Not me, not my pajamas. The pajamas matter, Tyler yelled. Everyone laughed. Okay, the pajamas matter a little, I conceded. But mostly, this is about community, about choosing to be part of something bigger than ourselves. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for caring. And I'm going to stop talking now before I say something embarrassing. Too late, Marcus shouted. More laughter. Emma squeezed my hand as I stepped away from the microphone, and I thought, this is what it's all about. Not the speeches or the recognition, but the feeling that you've been part of something good. After the ceremony, we toured the wing properly. It was beautiful, bright colors, murals on the walls, play areas for kids, comfortable spaces for families. In the main hallway, there was a plaque. The Carter Wing, dedicated to compassion, community, and second chances. Small acts of generosity create ripples we can't always see. You used my fumbling speech quote, I asked Emma. It was a good quote, she said. Very you. Julian appeared beside us, Victoria and Tyler in tow. So, what do you think? I think this is incredible, I said honestly. I think you guys built something that's going to help a lot of people. We built it, Julian corrected. All of us. Team effort. Team effort, I agreed. Tyler tugged on my sleeve again. Mr. Pajama Guy? Just Noah is fine. Will you come visit sometimes when I have checkups? My heart did that thing where it simultaneously expanded and broke a little. Absolutely. I'll be here. Will you wear the pajamas? Tyler, Victoria started, but I held up a hand. You know what? Maybe I will. Hospital gowns are overrated. Taco pajamas are clearly the superior choice. Emma laughed. Marcus cheered. And Julian looked like he was reconsidering every life choice that had led to this moment. But Tyler was beaming, and that made it all worth it. 1 month after the grand opening, Emma and I attended the hospital's monthly family event, A Saturday morning thing where kids in treatment could come play games, do art projects, and just be kids for a few hours. I'd become a regular volunteer, which was simultaneously the most rewarding and most humbling thing I'd ever done. Turns out, when you're not busy creating conspiracy theories about your wife's colleagues, you have time to actually do good in the world. Who knew? Tyler had become my unofficial buddy. Every time I showed up, he'd run over and demand I judge whatever Lego creation he'd made that week. The kid was building increasingly elaborate structures. Last week, he'd made a spaceship with a functioning drawbridge. I didn't even know Lego spaceships could have drawbridges. Noah! He spotted me from across the playroom and came sprinting over. Look what I made! He held up a Lego figure wearing what appeared to be pajamas made from tiny printed blocks. Is that? It's you! I made Lego Pajama Guy. I took the figure carefully, genuinely moved. Tyler, this is the best thing anyone's ever made for me. Really? Really? Can I keep it? Duh. That's why I made it. Emma appeared beside me, camera in hand. I need a photo of this. For posterity. For blackmail that, you mean? Same thing. She snapped a picture of me, holding Lego Pajama Guy, while Tyler grinned beside me. Julian and Marcus showed up around noon, bringing pizza for the kids and families. We'd fallen into an easy friendship over the past month. The kind where Marcus sent me memes at 2 a.m., and Julian asked for my opinion on presentation slides, even though I knew nothing about corporate presentations. The dream team, Marcus announced, setting down pizza boxes. Together again. We were literally here 3 days ago, Julian pointed out. And yet it feels like forever. I'm sentimental. We spent the afternoon playing games with the kids, helping with art projects, and generally making fools of ourselves in the name of entertainment. Victoria found me during a brief break while I was recovering from an intense game of musical chairs that I'd lost spectacularly. I wanted to talk to you, she said, sitting beside me. If this is about my musical chairs performance, I know it was bad. The 6-year-old who beat me made sure I knew. She laughed. No, though that was entertaining. I wanted to thank you again, properly this time. Victoria, you don't have to. I do, though. When Tyler got sick, I felt so helpless. We had insurance, but the costs kept piling up. And I was working full-time while trying to be there for him, and Julian was doing everything he could, and it still felt like we were drowning. This wing, what you and Emma and Julian built, it's changing lives. Not just Tyler's, but so many other families. I didn't know what to say, so I just squeezed her hand. Tyler talks about you constantly, she continued, about the pajama guy who brings him Lego and tells bad jokes and makes him laugh. You've become part of his healing process, Noah. That matters more than any donation. I'm just showing up. That's exactly it. You're showing up, consistently, genuinely. That's what these kids need, people who show up. After she walked away, Emma found me suspiciously misty-eyed by the juice boxes. You okay? She asked. Yeah, just, this is good, right? What we're doing here? The best, she agreed, kissing my cheek. You're doing great. Even though I almost ruined everything by being a paranoid mess who thought you were cheating, especially because of that. Your paranoia led to us having dinner with Julian and Marcus, which led to you getting more involved with the project, which led to you being here every week making kids laugh. Sometimes stupid decisions lead to good outcomes. That's a very generous interpretation. I'm a very generous person. You really are. We stayed until closing time, 6 p.m., when families started trickling out and volunteers began cleanup. Tyler gave me a hug goodbye that lasted approximately forever and made me seriously consider the logistics of having kids someday. See you next week, Mr. Noah, he asked. Absolutely, and I'll bring more Lego. The spaceships? The spaceships! As Emma and I were leaving, we ran into a familiar face in the parking lot. Guardzilla from Brightline Media. Mr. Carter? He looked shocked to see me. What are you doing here? Volunteering, I said. What about you? My daughter's being treated here, leukemia. She's in remission now, but we still come for checkups. Everything clicked into place. The new children's wing, that's why you're here. Best care she's ever received, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I heard you were involved with making it happen. I wanted to thank you. I'm glad I could help, I said, meaning it. He hesitated, then laughed awkwardly. I also wanted to apologize for that whole confusion about Mr. Reed. I realize now that probably caused some problems. Some problems was a generous way to put it, but I appreciated the acknowledgement. It's fine, I said. Actually, it kind of worked out for the best. Long story. Well, thank you anyway, for everything. After he left, Emma turned to me with that smile, the one that meant she was about to say something sappy. Don't, I warned. I'm just thinking, don't, about how a month ago you were stalking me through restaurant windows, and now you're a regular volunteer making actual differences in people's lives. I told you not to get sappy. Can't help it. I'm married to a reformed stalker who turned into a children's hospital volunteer. That's character growth. That's a redemption arc. I'm never going to live down the stalking thing, am I? Never, she confirmed cheerfully. I'm going to tell that story at parties for the rest of our lives. We don't go to parties. We'll start going to parties just so I can tell the story. I pulled her close, kissing her forehead. Fair enough. I deserve that. You really do. We drove home as the sun set, painting the sky in those ridiculous shades of orange and pink that look fake but somehow aren't. Emma's hand was in mine. The radio was playing something neither of us really listened to, and I thought about how weird life is. A month ago, I was convinced my marriage was falling apart. Now, I was volunteering at a children's hospital wing that partially bore my name, friends with the man I'd thought was stealing my wife, and holding a Lego figure of myself in pajamas made by a 6-year-old with more creativity and wisdom than I'd probably ever have. Hey, Em, I said as we pulled into our parking spot. Yeah, thanks for not divorcing me when I was being insane. Thanks for not actually stalking Julian beyond that one dinner. That could have gotten really awkward. I mean, I did create a burner Instagram, which he accepted immediately because he accepts everyone. The man has 3,000 followers, and he's not picky. That makes me feel simultaneously better and worse. We climbed the 4 flights to our apartment, elevator still broken, naturally, and collapsed on our couch. Emma immediately stole my sweatshirt, even though she had approximately 40 of her own. I didn't complain. This was what marriage was: sharing sweatshirts, telling embarrassing stories at hypothetical future parties, and building a life together that included both catastrophic misunderstandings and children's hospital wings. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Dinner next Friday? Julian's cooking, which means I'm ordering backup pizza just in case. I showed Emma, who laughed. Tell him yes, but request the pizza regardless. Julian's cooking is ambitious at best. You've had his cooking? Once. He tried to make coq au vin and somehow both undercooked and overcooked it. I didn't know that was possible. That's actually impressive. It's something. I replied to Marcus with a yes and a pizza emoji, then tossed my phone aside. You know what's weird? I said. Everything about our lives? Well, yes, but specifically, I'm kind of glad all this happened. The paranoia, the stalking, all of it. Emma raised an eyebrow. You're glad you convinced yourself I was having an affair? Not glad about that part. But if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't have really understood what you do. I wouldn't have gotten involved with the hospital project. I wouldn't have met Marcus and actually become friends with Julian. I'd still be sitting at home in my pajamas, living completely separate from your world. And now? Now I'm sitting at home in my pajamas, but at least I understand your world, and I'm part of it in my own weird way. She cuddled closer. I like having you in my world, even though I'm still wearing taco pajamas, especially because you're wearing taco pajamas. Never change, Noah. Not even if Julian offers to take me shopping. He will offer. Marcus has probably already suggested it. And I should say, whatever you want, but for the record, I love you exactly as you are. Questionable fashion sense and all. We stayed like that for a while, wrapped up in each other in our small apartment with its broken elevator and its character, watching the city lights flicker on as evening settled in. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Julian. Marcus tells me you said yes to dinner. Just so you know, I'm actually a competent cook. That Coco Ven incident was an anomaly. Emma's propaganda campaign against my culinary skills is unfounded and borders on defamation. Then Marcus. He's already panicking about the menu. I've ordered pizza. See you Friday. Then Tyler's mom, Victoria. Tyler wanted me to tell you he's building a Lego hospital now. You're responsible for this obsession. Then a photo from Julian. Him and Marcus on their couch, both Pomeranians asleep on their laps, Marcus making a ridiculous face while Julian looked exasperated but fond. Emma looked over my shoulder, reading the messages. We have weird friends. The best kind, I agreed. And somewhere in the city, at a hospital wing that bore our name, kids like Tyler were getting treatment and care and maybe building Lego spaceships with drawbridges. And somewhere in a corner office, A security guard was going home to his daughter who was in remission, grateful for a facility that gave her the best chance. And here in our small apartment with its character and its broken elevator and its view of the city lights, Emma and I were exactly where we needed to be, together. Even if I was wearing taco pajamas, especially because I was wearing taco pajamas.